Hi, I'm Kathy from Eclectic Images and thanks for joining me again for another short tutorial. This one we're going to focus on our new Dreamcatcher stamp, which I'm loving. We'll use it a couple of times in a couple of these tutorials. It's made with the Dreamcatcher part and the feather part as separate stamps, which means you can use it as a straight Dreamcatcher, but you can also split them up and use them as backings for other stamp designs. We'll do that in another one. But today we're going to use it as a Dreamcatcher and combine it with some of the Bohemian Bliss background papers. So the stamp we're using is this Dreamcatcher. And if I show you the actual stamps themselves, you can see we've got them, as I said, the feathers and the Dreamcatcher part separate. It also comes with some extra little dotty bits that you can add in as well, and we're going to use one of those today too. So our paper is from the Bohemian Bliss pack by BeeArty, and I've chosen this one which has got a Dreamcatcher pattern in the background, so I thought that would work really well. We're going to team it with some inks that are in the Catherine Pooler Spa collection, and these ones are both available in the mini size, which is currently on special. That's the Paradise Found set of mini inks. I've got them as the full size, but the minis work just as well. So what I've already done is trimmed back. We're going to do a slimline card. So I've trimmed back some of the backing paper. With this BeeArty pack of papers, you actually get two of each pattern, which is great because they're double-sided. So it's always really hard to decide which side you're going to use. So I can cut up one and next time I can use the other side. So as I said, cut it to a slimline and we're going to stamp and emboss our Dreamcatcher over the top of this. And I'm going to emboss it with white. So I've got my white powder set out ready. I'll just get my catching mat. We're going to wipe over this bit of card with an anti-static pad. And I'll stamp the circle part first, get that set, and then I can line the feathers up with it. So plenty of Versamark. I always find with white embossing powder you need it to be very well inked. Work out where I want it. Just ever so slightly off center. Good press down. Let's get our white embossing powder on there. And all over the table by the looks of it. Never mind. It cleans up. Okay, tap it off. Now I am going to heat this before I go any further because I don't want to be brushing some of that off in order to put the feather part on. So let's pop our embossing powder back into our jar, get the heat gun out, and I'm just going to heat it from underneath. I do find that with white embossing powder, it was a hint someone else said recently, and I found it works really well. With white embossing powder, if you heat it from underneath, it actually comes up smoother. Just make sure you don't burn your own fingers. So we'll warm it up there. Mind you, this is a fairly thick card I'm working on. Nope, we're starting to go. More down the bottom there it goes. Okay. Now let that cool for just a moment, and while it's cooling I can start inking up the feathers. And then line that up so that the feathers just touch the bottom of the circle. Again, good press down. This time I'll try to not get the table. Tap on the back. Now I want to add some extra little dots in, and I can probably do those at the same time as this. So I'm actually just going to pick up some of the strings of the feathers of the other bits. The background Dreamcatcher. Other bits.
So technical.
Yes. So add some in there. And one a bit lower down on that one. I think 3 will be plenty. Okay. Give all that a good tap on the back as well. Being very careful where I'm holding onto it that I don't touch any area with loose embossing powder. And also being careful, I nearly picked up my wet fan brush to do that with, which would have been ghastly when I'm trying to keep things dry for embossing powder to be tapping it with a wet brush. Oh dear. Okay, excess back in our pot. Let's get our heat gun going. And we mustn't forget, we had one little one up here somewhere, didn't we? There it is. Okay. It's a bit pretty, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to do our colouring with the Catherine Pooler inks. And I'm just going to use the stencil in this same Bohemian Bliss range. There is this gorgeous stencil, and we're going to add some extra background feathers with that as well before we do our watercolouring. Let's just think where we might like to add a little bit more colour. And I'll just use a blending brush for this, and a little bit of Peppermint scrub ink. I'm just going to tap it off on my scrap first, make sure I'm happy with the colour. I don't want it to be too strong, I just want it to just add some extra hints of colour there. Now if you're wanting to check how your stenciling's going, don't lift it off like I did with the last one. Just lift it up a little bit while holding it in place with one hand so you can check it and still put it back if you need to. And let's add another one down here. Actually, let's pick a different feather. I'll add this one, that's pretty. Okay, so we're just layering a little bit. And where we've got a little bit on our embossing there, we can just buff that off with our rag. Okay, now I'm going to get an acrylic block and put some of our Peppermint scrub ink. And I've also got the Royal Treatment, the purple. So we're going to pop both those on our block. And then we can use our water brush to pick up colour and start bringing out some detail of this stamp. So I'll use, you don't have to use 2 brushes, you can just clean off on your scrap or a bit of paper towel, but if you've got 2 brushes it means you can have 2 colours going without having to clean between. So let's just waft a bit of that on, and you'll see the embossing will start to come up more as we put a little bit of ink around it. So the Spa Collection inks in the Catherine Pooler range are all slightly more muted than the Party Collection ones. So they're designed to be softer, which is why I thought they'd work really well with this background. And I don't want to colour the whole thing. I could do quite precise colouring, but I actually just want to get some lighter and darker areas happening, but without actually precisely colouring. Just clean my brush if I need to, so I can come in and do a little bit of softening and blending. Now this isn't a watercolour paper that we're working on. So I'm not going to expect it to do a lot of blending. We can just pick out an odd bit to add more colour to if we want to. Decide if I like that or not. Still undecided. I'm thinking as I'm working, going, am I liking this? Now I do want to do some amongst the feathers as well, just to bring those out, because you can see how much that's lifted that embossing. So let's add some peppermint scrub. So I love white embossing, how when you put the colour on, it just pops. Now if I've got too much colour, give my brush a bit of a wipe off on the scratch paper so I can then just come in and soften that and blend it out a bit more. Then stand back and have a look and see if it needs anything else. If we need to lift a little bit of colour off some of our embossing. But do be careful when you're doing that you don't just smudge it everywhere. I'm still a bit undecided about the Dreamcatcher part. I think I need a little bit of a shadow around it just to bring out the actual rope part of it a little bit there. No, changed my mind. Rather than shading behind it, I'm just going to actually colour the rope. You like that, Matthew? Yep. See how easily these inks become paints. Really easy to work with and easy to blend with. Now we're just going to stamp a sentiment down the bottom, and I'm going to use a couple of stamps out of our Brush Dreams set. So I'm just going to place them on just to see how they fit. I want the S on Dreams. And I was going to... May your dreams come true. That's going to work nicely. So let's just see that we can fit everything in that we want to. May your dreams come true. Okay, that's all going to work well there. And I'm just going to stamp these in that peppermint scrub ink Or maybe the royal treatment, maybe the purple. That might be nice. Now I'll start with the one in the bottom corner and work up because I don't want to stamp the others and then run out of space. So let's have a look with the, it's going to be too late once I've stamped it, isn't it? So let's put Come True down the bottom there. I'm just seeing whether I need to actually stamp the S in place first so that I don't accidentally not leave enough space for it. I've made the set with the S separate so that you can use just the word dream or you can have it as dreams. But it just means if you're using it with the S, you've just got to be a bit more careful with your lining up. And I'm glad I went with a slightly darker colour. I like this. Okay, let's, with a slightly bigger stamp, let's take our ink pad to our stamp. Just tap very gently. Oh, just got away with it. It's just meeting to the edge of where we added those embossed dots. Because of course, if I overlapped it over those embossed dots, it would resist the ink, wouldn't it? And little mayor. I'll just check that I've got it up the right way and tuck that in there. May your dreams come true. That's a nice thing to have with a dream catcher, isn't it? Now, I do think we need to ink the edge of that a little bit and then we're going to layer it on a backing card. So I'm just going to swipe my ink pad around the edge. Remember, don't go straight across, do it on a bit of an angle so you don't give your ink pad paper cuts. And this again will just make our centerpiece all stand out. And we might even just shade a little bit on there too. Let me grab a purple brush. This is one of my number 10 brushes. And make sure I haven't got inky fingers before I put them on the card. We'll just So of course we could have just stamped and embossed on the backing card, which is so pretty anyway, and not done anything else to it. But sometimes it's nice to just play and add a bit of extra layers. And now I've started doing this, I want to do more. Now, I'm going to add some sparkle to it, but we'll get it layered on the backing card first. So this is cut to DL, as is the backing card, so we're just layering it totally over the top. And I need to find my double-sided tape. Oh, how pretty is that side? I'm definitely going to have to use that side of the paper with the other bit of paper in the set, aren't I? They're all just too pretty. And of course, if you're, they're 12 by 12 sheets, so you can use them for your scrapbooking. You can cut them back to whatever size pages your journals have, or you can make loads of cards out of this one set of papers. And because it's such a long piece, let's have a bit down the middle as well. Okay. all that backing off. Come on, behave, thank you. Now lay our backing card down. That's coming up pretty nice. I'm always I always say I have trouble with white card and I always have to shade the edge, but I really like shading the edge of pattern card too. Now, do we go with glossy accents or I think a glitter on this one, but what colour do we use? Silver or mermaid or maybe a bit of mercury glass? No, I think silver or mermaid. Let's go mermaid. So I'm going to pick out, I'm going to start with the beads. Just give it a little squeeze, make sure it's running nicely with not too many air bubbles. And then just see what else it needs. And I will pick out those extra little beads that I added in with the white embossing. Okay, what else do you think? Some on our words or maybe just some bit more on the Dreamcatcher itself? Or does it matter? Can we just do glitter everywhere? Let's put a bit on Dreams. So this time I'm going to, instead of blobbing the glitter on, this time I'm going to give it a squeeze and just spread the glitter slightly with the nozzle as we go over it. And of course, going over such a dark ink, it's going to look fantastic. And a bit on the S. Wow. Okay, we need more. So let's let's add some to over our white here. So this is just going to be a bit more random than the Dreams. Just going to sweep along some of those bits. Not all of them, just some of them. Just to give us a little bit of more backgroundy sheen there. And I think that's where well, maybe some on the feathers. I was going to say that's where I stopped, but then I was thinking, oh, look at the poor feathers, they're missing out. Just a little bit, and I'm really spreading it out with the nozzle. So we just get a light sheen of glitter in there. I see, Matthew, that does work. You would have said stop, wouldn't you? But no, I think it needed that. Okay, let's take our scratch pad out of there so you can see that more clearly.
25.
How gorgeous is that? So that's using a backing paper, using the white embossing, and then just bringing it all out by adding some shading, adding some watercolouring, and then adding some sparkle. So that's our new Dreamcatcher set. We'll be using that one in another couple of video clips that I'm doing at the moment. Hope you enjoyed this one today, and hopefully you'll join us again soon. Thanks for watching.